Hi, I'm Dr. Scott Augustine, and I'm here to talk to you a bit about an endowed fellowship that my wife and I did some years ago. I'm not here to tell you about the fellowship itself. I think that'll speak for itself, but I'd really rather talk a bit about why you might want to consider doing it. It's extra work, but I'm going to give you a little bit of my life story and hope that it makes it sound interesting enough that you might want to do that little bit of extra work. I'm an anesthesiologist by training, went to medical school at the University of Minnesota, and was privileged enough to serve in the Navy, where I did my anesthesia residency and fellowships in intensive care at Stanford and cardiac anesthesia at the Mayo Clinic. One thing I learned along the way is that equipment that is used in medicine is not what it's cracked up to be. Even when it's brand new, a lot of it doesn't work all that well. And that there are a lot of problems that need to be solved yet in the medical device field. A lot of this equipment was poorly designed in the first place. Some of it just is completely missing. And so I became interested in this when I was a resident and ended up with my first patent and my first invention while I was a resident, and that turned out to be a product that after I got out of the Navy, started a company around. It's called Bear Hugger. It's for warming patients during surgery. Became quite popular after all these years, 35 years. It is still the standard of care throughout the world for surgical patient warming. What I realized, though, is that wasn't the end of it. I've gone on, and I have about 200 U.S. patents right now, solving all kinds of different problems, because there's like an endless need for problems to be solved in medicine. And I think that begs a really interesting question. Why are there so many things that need to be solved? There's a lot of smart people working in medicine, both as clinicians and as engineers. I mean, the big companies have legions of engineers, and yet there are still all these unsolved problems. Well, I think it's for several reasons. One, and this is the most important one, is that I believe fundamental solutions, the blue sky solutions, will never come from an engineer. It has to come from a doctor or some other practicing clinician. Because you're the one that knows the anatomy, knows the physiology, knows the procedure that's the current standard, knows that it goes pretty good up to this point and then it kind of falls apart. You know that at 3 in the morning you can't get the third hand that you need to help you because they're not around. You know all this stuff, and the engineer doesn't know that. So without doctors solving these problems, they'll go unsolved. It won't come from the companies. And that's why and my wife and I are encouraging doctors to take a fellowship like this, learn the biomedical engineering that it takes to at least get the project started. You don't have to be able to do it from beginning to end, but you have to have enough knowledge to at least kind of know what the pathway is and get the project started. The other part of it is it takes commitment. There isn't really a good place for these kind of projects to fit into most people's lives. If you're an academic doc, you don't get promoted for patents. You know, I was on staff at the university for a number of years, and at the time I had, 10 or 15 patents and was an assistant professor and was not on track for promotion at all. I've now got 200 patents, and if I was still on staff, I would still be an assistant professor, because frankly, invention is not recognized as academic material. That being said, the other side of practice, private practice, most people are really busy and they don't have a staff to help them and they don't have a laboratory, and so private practice docs, may have good ideas, but they frequently don't follow through with it. So at the end, while there's a lot of ideas out there, some of them good, some of them not so good, almost none of them get followed up on because doctors don't know the path forward and they don't have free time to be working on things. And so it does require a commitment. And on my own story, I invented and did quite a bit of the development work while I was full-time resident and staff in the Navy, and started my first company when I was a full-time practicing anesthesiologist in private practice. Started the company in my garage. You have to kind of be committed to working above and beyond if you're going to do this kind of work. But it's very worthwhile. You know, in my experience, I've now been at this for about 35 years and have a number of products out there, but my products have improved the outcomes of literally hundreds of millions of patients. And I could never have had an impact like that, being an above average anesthesiologist practicing on one patient at a time. So it gives the opportunity to have a huge impact, presumably for the reasons that you went into medicine, which is to help people. And so I'm encouraging young, bright minds who have a medical background to take a little time, and if you're interested in biomedical engineering, do it. You don't have to do like I did, where after about 10 years of practice, I actually went full-time on the development and entrepreneur side of it. No need to do that at all. But at least follow up on your ideas, because you're the only place where ideas that really solve problems are possibly going to come from. And without young, bright minds like you working on these things, we'll just lumber along with the same issues going on in medicine that have always gone on, and the same unsolved problems being dealt with every day by people in their practice. So I urge you to apply for this fellowship. Whether you get it or not, I urge you to follow up on your interests if they include biomedical engineering. And when you have ideas, push them forward, see where they go. Don't just let them die on the vine like almost all of them do. That's not necessary, and we need to work together if we're going to solve these problems. So thanks for taking a few minutes with me. And if you want to learn more about the actual program, you'll have to talk to the folks running it. I don't run the program. I just encourage young, bright minds to get into it. Thanks.